Welcome back. Middle school can be a pivotal time in a young person's life filled with challenges and opportunities shaping their future. Addressing this critical period requires innovative solutions going beyond traditional approaches to mentoring. One program is doing just that, combining clinical expertise, intensive support, and holistic focus on academic, social, and emotional growth. Joining us is the executive director and co founder of the Arthur Project, Jessica Greenawalt. Jessica, thank you for joining me. Now, what inspired the creation of the Arthur Project and how did this vision come to life?
Oh, that's such a great question. Our program was really inspired by the real life experience of one of our other co founders, Elizabeth Murray. Some people know her as the Homeless to Harvard author, or as the author of Breaking Night, the story really of her childhood growing up in the Bronx. So Liz, when she was growing up, was cared for by two really loving, warm parents who also were dealing with some pretty serious issues around mental health and substance use. And so Liz really didn't get the care that she needed as a child and ended up sort of dealing with a lot of challenges because of that. Was in and out of foster care, spent some time being homeless, ultimately kind of shifted the trajectory for herself in returning to high school and ultimately going to Harvard and starting a family and having a really wonderful life. But she really attributes a lot of that kind of shift in trajectory to a relationship that she had with a neighbor at the time named Arthur. And Arthur would really kind of pay attention to what was going on for Liz and her sister and sort of see what was going on in their home and their life and find ways to safely engage with them, to say, come over to Liz and say, hey, I need help hanging up pictures in my living room, or why don't we head to Van Cortlandt Park and shoot a bow and arrow or something? And did so in a really warm, non judgmental way that just, over time let Liz know that she was important and that her safety mattered and being cared for mattered. And over the course of her relationship with Arthur and through other mentors in her life, she really grew this expectation of herself, realizing that she did matter. She wasn't kind of invisible out in the world. In fact, she had a lot of power. She attributes a lot of that thinking to the mentors that she had. So when she met another one of our co-founders, Jeff Muty, who was so like inspired by her story and said, let's start a mentoring organization that replicates this experience that you had with Arthur and with other really important mentors in your life. And before I even came on board, Jeff and Liz spent a lot of time researching, how to create a mentoring organization that was going to be impactful and supportive and deeply therapeutic, and also avoid a lot of the pitfalls that many other mentoring organizations face. And it was sort of at the end of that research phase that they met me, and together we sort of made the Arthur Project a reality.
Now, I understand there's a focus on middle school students. What makes this age group critical for mentoring?
There's a few things. During the middle school years, there's a lot of really interesting stuff happening for young people, both psychologically, socially, cognitively, neurologically. So, young people's brains are really developing at a rapid rate during the middle school years. And it's a really exciting time. Developmentally, they're thinking about big picture questions. Who are they? What do they believe in? Where do they want to go? How do they identify? What is the world around them in terms of how it accepts them or doesn't? They're shaping so many um, ideas about themselves and their future at that time. So that time makes it a really impactful time to get into their lives and to be part of kind of the constellation of supports around them as they navigate all of that. The trials and tribulations of middle school are really no joke for anybody, even under the best of circumstances. But to be able to engage with young people and support them at a time when they're so malleable and their brains are still developing, their sense of self is still developing, it's really a gift to be able to support young people at that time.
Now, can you elaborate on the therapeutic mentoring model and how it differs from traditional mentoring approaches?
Sure. We over time understood ourselves to be a therapeutic mentoring model that does differ from kind of a traditional mentoring model. And what that means for us is that we utilize social work students. So In most cases, our therapeutic mentors are students of social work, graduate students of social work, the majority of them at the New York City schools of social work. And so they are joining us as therapeutic mentors to take a more holistic, a more clinical and therapeutic approach to mentoring, a more intensive approach, but also an approach that is rooted in social justice and in an anti-oppressive approach, an approach that recognizes that challenges that young people face, even mental health challenges, even diagnoses, mental health disorder diagnoses, that is often a reflection of what's going on in the environment. And when people experience things like persistent discrimination, systematically or personally, or the combination of both, that a very rational response to that is mental health challenges that often look like depression or anxiety or PTSD. And so we're really taking this approach that is more intensive, it is more intentional, it is more therapeutic, and it's also rooted in principles of social justice.
Now, how does the program balance the focus of academic, social, emotional wellness, and mental health in the way that supports the student?
We really see all of those things as being integrated. I mean, a student can't be successful in school if their social emotional needs are not met. A student can't really, get their social emotional needs met if their mental health needs aren't met. Like, these things are all connected, they're all interrelated for all of us. And so we see the opportunity to address the full kind of constellation of needs for our young people. And I say needs from a place of first, understanding that our young people are incredibly bright, resourceful, resilient, incredible. I mean, even with all of the challenges that we are facing and that we see all around us right now, the ability for our young people to kind of roll with it and keep moving and keep growing, it's really quite beautiful and inspiring. And they have so many gifts and so many strengths, so many things to claim as their own, kind of in their own toolbox of strengths. And so, even when we are talking about sort of the full scope of needs, we are talking about it from a place of being strengths based and recognizing we have a lot of tools to work with when we are trying to tackle some of these issues that we do see as interrelated: academic engagement, social emotional wellness, and mental health.
Now, what are some specific goals mentees set during their individual mentoring sessions, and how are those goals tracked?
So the goals are really individualized. Each of our mentees follows an individualized growth plan, which they co-create with their mentor, and those plans outline their individualized goals. We have a framework that we use to support goal setting. So we kind of, again, take this holistic view of a child's life, and we look at 5 different areas: school and career, finance, family, friends, and relationships, health and wellness, and community and culture. And we use that kind of multidimensional framework to support our young people in thinking about what's important to them. What areas of their life do they see opportunities for growth, for exploration, for healing, and how can we help them get there? And that is really the big question that we ask when we're setting goals with young people, or when they're setting goals with us, is what's important to them? Where do they want to go? And how can we help them get where they want to go? So the goals are very much individualized and can fall under any of those categories, and can be anything from improving sleep hygiene. A lot of our young people struggle to get enough sleep, which is so critical during those middle school years. I mean, our kids probably need, still 10, if not more, hours of sleep at night. And between just the demands of life, plus technology and social media and all the other attractive stuff that's out there to young people, it can be really difficult to get enough sleep. And that interferes with all the things we're talking about with school, with mental health, with social emotional wellness. So a goal might be to improve sleep hygiene, to figure out really concrete ways to get more sleep, to come to school on time more often. And it just goes from there. That's just one example.
Now, can you tell me a little bit more about Saturday activities and how they align with mentees' personal goals and skill development?
So on Saturdays, we curate kind of a selection of activities for the young people and mentors to experience, either locally to the borough that they're in, like the Bronx, or further out in the city or outside of the city. And really, the idea behind the creation of that programming is to support the individual skill building that they have set out to do. So, to support that goal, the goals that they've been setting with their mentors, to work toward achieving the skills that they have identified are important to them that they want to achieve. So whether that be, pro-social behaviors with their peers, or asking for help, self-advocacy, communicating with others, regulating emotion. There's a lot of stuff that our young people are working on, a lot of stuff we're all working on that can really be practiced out in the world. And even better when you have the opportunity to practice kind of under the with in the context of a safe relationship with a trusted adult like a therapeutic mentor. So Saturdays are really meant to give our kids an opportunity to further develop those skills in a safe way, to develop other essential life skills like just navigating around the city. What do you do if you lose your now Omni pass? How do you read a map? All that good stuff. And also to give the young people access maybe to things they wouldn't otherwise be able to access. So different venues and activities that might be financially out of reach for them and their families, or are difficult to get to because of the commute or time. But we want to increase their access to the city that they belong in and love, and should feel just as entitled to tap into as anybody else.
Now, what role do community partnerships play in expanding opportunities for mentees?
Community partnerships play a number of roles for us. I mean, the thing that's coming to mind for me first are the partnerships that we established during COVID, where schools were closed, and the space that we were using to deliver in-person services was unavailable. We found a great community partner, the Bronx Collab Space, who was local to our school partners, who we established a long-term partnership with to make sure that we could have some space for very small, socially distanced in-person activities that for some kids were still so critically important even during the COVID years. And that's just one example. And then, we are working to kind of extend our pipeline with partners in both ways. So we work only with middle school students. And we get a lot of interest and questions about like continuing programming like ours in high school. And really, what we'd like to do is establish more community partnerships with the CBOs that are serving high school students, so that we can really support our young people as they transition into high school and beyond, and support them in making intentional decisions about their academic trajectory that are going to serve them. So if they know that they benefited from having a mentor in middle school, how can they really be then a mentor magnet and go to high school and find other adults that are going to support them in the same ways they're or in different ways than their mentors did in middle school. And so we're really starting to build out that sort of pipeline of partnering with both elementary schools and in particular high schools, so that we can sort of offer the full range of opportunities to kids as they grow in New York City.
Now, how do you incorporate feedback from mentees and their families into improving the program?
So feedback is really important to us. One of our values is actually collective wisdom. And to us, that means, every single person is a wealth of knowledge, especially about themselves and their own lives. And together, we just have an incredibly rich amount of information, and ideas. And so we're constantly soliciting feedback, really from everybody in our community, from kids, their parents and caregivers, school teachers and staff, our mentors, our staff, our board of directors. We're really in constant conversation and constant iteration, as to what we're doing and where we want to go. It's really important to all of us that we're doing something that works for the community that we're serving. And if it's not, then we need to understand why, what that is, and make those adaptations so we can be more responsive. So that feedback process, that feedback loop looks like a lot of different things, surveys, focus groups, conversations, office hours, town halls, invitations to participate in decision making, in our organization, in invitations to participate in strategic planning in our organization. Even the process of articulating our values took probably 18 months, I would say, because we involved every single stakeholder in our organization. Everybody was involved in shaping and ultimately articulating what's most important to us. So feedback is a big part of who we are.
Well, Jessica, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Can you quickly let everybody know where they can go for more information?
Yeah, so the easiest place to find more information about us is at our website, thearthurproject.org. You can really find out all of the great stuff about everything that we're doing in our school partnerships and out in the community. And I'm always available as well to chat more with anybody who wants to learn more about us.
All right, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.